story that came out last week, just a little blip, was, and of course it then gets totally forgotten, was not one healthy child has died of COVID-19 in the UK. Okay, so that's just a little teeny story there. So that means that we've locked down these schools for nothing. Obviously, kids who are ill, they may not be going to school very regularly anyway. But and obviously we need to, keep them away, that sort of thing. But not one single healthy child died. That was one of the news stories. I saw it in the Times, but then I saw it online elsewhere. So we've shut our schools for 6 months for nothing.
Yeah.
I actually spoke to a policeman about this at our demonstration we did here in Bristol on Sunday, a stand-up Bristol demo, and he looked at me and he smiled and he chuckled and he said, well, sorry, but that is a bit above my pay grade. And, obviously I think the police aren't particularly interested in weighing in on all this. We had the Police Federation originally when they brought in the mask edicts, saying that it was absurd to expect police to enforce this. That was the Police Federation. So we've seen all sorts of evidence that the police aren't really that interested. Even when Piers Corbyn was arrested, the Federation leaked something, which they don't usually do, to one of the major papers. I can't remember which one it was now at the weekend, saying that, the orders for this came from on high. They never normally do that. What they're doing is they're saying, look, guys, we don't actually agree with Piers' arrest. This is a political decision, and that is a decision which probably won't have been made with her, but it would have been signed off directly by Priti Patel. I can tell you that now. Piers Corbyn's arrest was something that Priti Patel decided we're going to arrest this guy. And if they'd left it, if she should not be doing that, if they'd left it to the Metropolitan Police, Piers would almost certainly not have been arrested.
Yeah, because speaking to him on the phone the other day, and he's going to be on with us in about 20 minutes' time, He echoed, he said what you said there, and he was convinced of that because the police were pretty amiable on the scene in terms of they were happy enough for people to do what people were doing and just let them get on with it. Priti Patel, of course, should be hanging from her ankles in the Tower of London as for treason. The woman who went to Israel and met with Israeli government officials while she was International Development Secretary, I think, and neglected to tell her boss. That's treason.
Yeah, been on holiday.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably one of those jollies that the Israeli embassy organised, and it was all totally off the books. Now, this is extremely dodgy. You can't be doing that sort of thing when you're a government minister.
It's treason.
So she should never be given office again. She's a sort of Mandelson character, I think.
Yeah. She's
one of those people that everybody can see is a crook, but she has decided, right, I think maybe everyone's forgotten about that now, so let's try her. Now, this does smack to me, Richie, this is a really good thing, of desperation. I think they're desperate. Reusing soiled goods in terms of Priti Patel does smack of desperation to me.
I'm walking around Salford, and I pop in and out of different shops, and I'm glad to report that nobody's wearing masks. Nobody. And people behind shop counters are not asking anybody about masks. The pharmacy, which is run by a lovely Jewish guy around the corner, same thing. You go in there, nobody's saying anything. I like that. I really do. And maybe there's a lot to be said for what you've just said, that they're beginning to panic, because that's pushback in and of itself when people are just quietly disobeying and saying, no, feck you, we won't wear the masks, we won't socially distance.
I think, Richie, this is a sign of the times because, that and then our fund being taken down and, of course, my arrest itself. That was very interesting because, you see, in the 2 weeks building up to the Trafalgar Square 35,000 at least rally, the police had been very reasonable. I mean, I've discussed things with them, talked every day, and they asked, well, OK, Mr. Corbyn, what are you really expecting? Have you got any safeguards? If there's any trouble, sensible discussions in a normal way. And I said, yes, where do you want to go afterwards? We'll make sure you can march from Trafalgar Square towards Downing Street and so forth. So they were cooperative. Then, at the last minute, when most people had left the square and I was still hanging around talking to people, a different group of police turned up and just pounced on me and put me in a van. And I said, look, guys, what is going on here? Because this isn't anything that we were expecting.
Yeah.
And the coppers said, indicated in a not very unroundabout way, it came from the top, Mr. Corbyn. So, there's a decision taken somewhere that whatever, because our rally was so successful, and therefore we'd embarrassing them so much, I don't know, that we had to be taken out. And they would have taken out more people, but for the fact that some people realised what was going on and scarpered from the square quickly.
Tony Gosling, the Bristol-based journalist and a very good journalist, was on the programme before you today. And Tony, when you say that the policeman said the order to arrest you came from the top, Tony Gosling said he believes that it came from the Home Office. Now, we don't have any proof of that, but you do suspect that, don't you?
Well, I do suspect either the Home Office or Sadiq Khan. I mean, the reason why I think possibly more likely Sadiq Khan, and I said that and suggested it on Good Morning Britain TV, was that Sadiq Khan, we know, has meetings every week with Cressida Dick, the in charge of the police.
Police Commissioner.
And there was a big contrast of what happened on Saturday. There was a Black Lives Matter demonstration which had turned up in Parliament Square without notice, even though the police a day before had said to me, Mr. Corbyn, you've got a free run. So the Black Lives Matter turns up there, and then none of them are arrested or anything, whereas we have 35,000 people, which is a lot more than theirs, of course, and I get arrested. So there's unevenness. Now, we know that Sadiq Khan has always been supporting Black Lives Matter and always opposes what we're doing, and indeed has imposed a completely dystopian, horrible situation on the tubes where people are, walking around as if they're in a new 1984 with loudspeakers telling them to shut up and so forth on the tubes. So, we know where he stands. So it may be him, or it could be they're just doing it together, of course,
These are
the government and him.
And him, yeah.
But we'd like to find out. You should phone them up. Maybe you should phone them up, Richie, and say, look, Mr. Khan, was it you that ordered this, or was it the Home Office?
Isn't it funny you say that?
It was, they should resign.
One of the things I do, and it's hard enough to do, I'm not looking for any sympathy here now, but when you're a sole trader or kind of a lone operator, it's difficult to do it. Yeah. But I email these departments regularly, challenging them. And I never get a response. I don't even get an automated reply. And of course, as a real journalist, my approach is very, very polite and very professional. And I never get anything.
Of course.
What I'm going to start doing, actually, is I'm going to start publishing these emails. On my new website when it's just to see. But so 40,000. What a fantastic response that was in Trafalgar Square.
Incredible. I mean, the feeling in the square was amazing. I mean, when I came on, it was electric. It was electric. And in the middle of my speech, I said, look, in fact, what they say about distancing is incorrect. People do need to interact closely and even hug each other in order to increase their endorphins. And if you do that, you feel better. And actually, you are better because you're more resistant. Your resistance to, your immune system improves. So I said to everyone in the square, all right, we're now going to hug everybody, hug your neighbour against this COVID lockdown. And the whole square was hugging each other.
Magnificent. I saw the clip, yeah. It was an amazing thing.
Do you feel better? They said yes.
Absolutely. And I saw on one of the clips there was a lady wearing a T-shirt basically offering hugs to people. And there is a lot to be said. There is a lot to be said. A mate of mine from Chorlton, Joe, she was there on Saturday and got a lot out of it. You see, what I said about the protest was, I said that I obviously, of course, endorse them. I think it's a great thing. But I'd like to see something beyond it. And I think you would too. I don't think you want to get so many people coming into Trafalgar Square. I don't think you want them to just go home feeling good that they stuck their fingers up to the establishment. They need to do more, right?
They do, yes. Sign a letter to your Member of Parliament, and again go to stopnewnormal.net, and there you'll find a draft model letter and a link whereby you click on the link with your postcode, and it tells you who your MP is and what their email address is, and you paste that into the letter and you can send it off by email. And the letter says, we expect you to oppose the renewal of the COVID legislation when it comes in September. And if you don't, we will campaign for your removal from office.